Hi friends, welcome to this screencast on discussion boards, how to do your best work in group discussions. So what constitutes a substantial posting? An effective posting does a couple of things. It illuminates your deep consideration of the topic. Deep here is the key word. It drives the conversation forward. In other words, a reply to another person doesn't just say good job. It says, hey, have you considered this? Because when I consider it, I think blah, blah, blah. And finally, it motivates others to think more deeply about the topic being discussed. So if you say, hey, good job, that might make somebody feel good, but it's not actually going to help them to think more deeply about the topic. And the point there is you have to be thinking deeply in order to prompt somebody else to want to think more deeply as well. So to create a substantial post or a substantial response to another student, there are a couple things you need to do. I want you to think about presenting a new question that will help broaden or refine or redirect the conversation. I want you to think about how you could provide a different point of view on a topic. And I would love for you to ask peers to clarify their ideas that you don't really understand yet. Remember, in this situation, a discussion board, your peers are your best resources. A substantial posting is going to do a couple of important things. It's going to help you to make a connection between the discussion you're having in that specific class and information that you're learning in other classes and in other subject areas. In addition, it's going to help you if you share a resource that you have used that has been helpful for you. You can use the attachment feature to share images or documents or videos that are going to add to the conversation to deepen everybody's understanding of what you guys are talking about. And then finally, if you comment thoughtfully and respectfully on the ideas, experiences, and questions presented by your peers, it's going to help you to engage with your peers and create more meaningful conversations for literally everyone involved in the conversation. All right, now maybe you're stuck. You're like, okay, that sounds good, Miss J, but I'm not really sure how to do it. So here are some sentence starters for commenting on classmates' posts. These would be some strong sentence starters. Something like, Rebecca's comment made me think about blank, and that helps me to think more deeply about blank. So you want to always be pushing yourself to extend. Although Zach made a strong point that blank, I think blank because blank. So all those blank spaces are spots where you are supposed to be adding full-blown sentences worth of deep consideration of the topic. So if you say, I had not thought about Lee's point that blank, so you reiterate her point, but now that I consider it, I realize that, and you are going to deepen the conversation in that moment. Again, I respectfully disagree with Lawrence's assertion that blank, so you have to label his assertion and then explain why you disagree. You can say something like, I really appreciate Deborah's insight into blank, explain what her insight is, because it helps me to think more deeply about blank. In that blank, you are pushing your ideas. You're trying to think more deeply and support everyone else in thinking more deeply about the topic at hand. You can say, thank you, Manuel, for sharing blank, whatever he shared, because it helps me to blank, to do something else. Now, sometimes you're going to disagree with your colleagues, and that's fine, but you always want to disagree respectfully. Even if the post you're responding to is disrespectful, that is no reason why you should be disrespectful. You own your own word. You are going to be impeccable with your word, so you are going to respond in a respectful manner. Here are some ways to do that. Great point, Angela. Have you considered blank? And then you can push on her to help her consider a different or an alternative perspective. Even though Katie's point is valid, I tend to believe that blank, and then you can post your point. In contrast to Michelle's point, I would argue, or I would submit for consideration, blank. Notice that in all of these blank spaces, that is occasion for you to think deeply and express those deep thoughts. Bradley highlighted some key ideas when he said blank. However, when one considers blank, they can see blank. Or Caitlin, can you clarify your statement that blank because it conflicts with the evidence that blank. So if somebody has misinterpreted evidence, that last one's the perfect way to go. Okay, I just said it, but I want to reiterate. There is literally no space for disrespect on a discussion board. That includes if you are making the original post, do not be disrespectful while you're posting. If you are responding to somebody else's post, do not be disrespectful of that response. If you don't like the post, do not be disrespectful of me. There are ways for you to express your discontent with the content of this class, and that would be in my office hours or in an email to me where you can say, hey, Miss J, and then politely and respectfully tell me what's going on for you. Tell me why you're in conflict with whatever content I've got going on. But to post on a discussion board, hey, I don't like this content, or hey, this is a stupid question, that's disrespectful. And if I allow you to disrespect me, then I teach you that I would allow you to disrespect anyone else as well. So since we are all human beings, I am never going to be tolerant of a disrespectful post on a discussion board. Okay, read through this example discussion post and think about what this author is doing well and what this author needs to do better. And you can just pause this until you're done reading, and then we'll meet on the other side of this slide. Okay, let's look at this person's response. This person says to share ideas and give deets about them. Respond with answers and reply with responses. Okay, well, first of all, I think it comes to everybody's immediate attention that this person possibly didn't edit. But I want to address one issue. It is possible that there are students with unique learning needs, and it's possible that they have accommodations that account for that. So I would refrain from using your time on these boards to reprimand somebody for their lack of grammatical conventions or their lack of spelling editing or anything like that, because you just don't know where that person is coming from. So for discussion boards, I really want y'all to stay focused on the content of that person's discussion. So let's look at the content of this person's discussion. Does it feel to you like they did what I asked in the prompt? Did they include thorough details? Did they go in depth with their response? I think we would all agree that this one is lacking. So the points would be reflective of that lack of depth. Okay, here are responses to other classmates' posts. What do y'all think? Take a minute to just read through them. Now, I think when you're looking through these, you can tell which responses are callously given. Good job, same, that's what I said too. And which illuminate some depth. I like this last one. Let's take a look at it. I agree. When people reply using phrases like mood, same, or that makes sense, and that's all they say in group discussions, it generally closes off the conversation. Those words end it because that kind of reply is one-ended, basically meaning that you can't say anything that could base any sort of coherent comment off of it. So that one shows a level of depth. They are reprimanding whoever said same or whatever, but they are explaining in detail why that response is lacking. And that's what I'm looking for. I have one quick note about responding to other people. You want to be careful not to respond to one person and then copy that response and paste it somewhere else. Please understand that from my end of Schoology, it is super easy for me to highlight your original response and your comments to other people and put them right next to each other. So it's just like a tiny click away for me to be able to understand that that's what you've done. Please don't do that, because from here on out, I'm going to consider that plagiarism, and that will earn you a 0 on your discussion. Okay, so your takeaways from this screencast should be: your response to a prompt needs to be thorough and detailed. It needs to show me depth of thought and consideration of the issue. And when you are replying to others, that reply needs to move the discussion forward. It needs to focus on some detail, or it needs to lend criticism in a respectful manner so that people can continue to think deeply. I'll look forward to seeing all of your awesome discussion board responses this week. Thanks.